that far.
Okay. And we are in business. For the record, today is Saturday, February 7th, 2009. The location of the interview is at the home of Ray Avery in Hampton, Connecticut. The name of the interviewer is Jeannie Marie Christie. The name of the interviewee is?
Raymond Avery.
Your date of birth?
April 12th, 1926.
And the branch of service you were with?
I was in the Army.
Your rank, sir?
PFC.
And where did you serve?
In Europe, France, Germany. And that's about it, France and Germany.
Any specific places in France?
Well, France, I was we ended up around Saint-Nazaire and Lorient on the coastline.
Okay.
And then when the occupation took place, we were in Vienna, parts of that, and then down in Marseille. We moved around.
Germany?
I was in Germany, but I don't really, I was in the town of Tennick, small town of Tennick.
Do you remember how to spell that?
Not really.
Okay.
65 years ago,
And it was close to what?
It was in Austria, really.
Okay. So we stand a fighting chance of finding it. Let's start with when you first joined the military and then work our way through. Okay?
I didn't join the military.
You
They
were
drafted me.
I know.
We went to Devens,
Okay.
and then we were shipped out of Devens. We went to Shepherd Field, Texas,
All right.
where we were in the Air Corps. And we went through basic training there. I think it was 8 weeks. And after 8 weeks, they suddenly told us that they were no longer needed people in the Air Corps, and they shipped us to the infantry. And I ended up at Camp Rucker, Alabama.
Okay. Do you remember what it felt like when you first joined?
Yeah, I was kind of apprehensive about where the heck I was going and what I was going to do.
Anything in your boot camp experience that stands out in your mind?
No, the only thing I remember, basically, when in Devens, it rained for the 7 days we were there. And then we just went on the train and we went back and forth across the country. I guess they were trying to hide us, and we ended up in Texas.
Okay. Do you remember any names of your instructors?
No. No.
How'd you get through that experience of getting into boot camp and being shoveled around?
Well, like everybody else, you figured you had to go and you had to be in it, so you just went along with it. And each day was a different experience.
Any particular days that stand out in your mind?
No, not really. We just did the regular trainings, that everybody went through. Took marches, rifle range. Hated the bayonet drill.
Why?
I didn't like the bayonet.
Once you got into service and you were done with boot camp, then what happened?
Well, our boot camp, I think, was kind of different because being in the Air Corps, we never fired anything but a pistol. And when we were sent to the infantry after 8 weeks, we didn't know anything about a rifle. And they gave us a rifle and told us to take it apart. We couldn't even open the damn thing. In fact, when we went overseas, they gave us brand new equipment and everything. And half of us on the boat, after a very short period in the infantry, found our rifles were still loaded with cosmoline. We didn't even know what the heck it was. They were so brand new. But we survived.
Okay. How did you get from that training to going overseas? Can you tell me about that?
Well, we were in Camp Rucker for, I went in June, and we were 8 weeks, 10 weeks before they shipped us out probably. We went to Alabama. We were in Alabama with the 66th Division for a period until November. And then we were sent overseas, sent to New York, got on the boat and went overseas.
You left New York and went to where?
We went to England.
Okay.
Down around Southampton, and we ended up in Dorchester, which was
Okay.
on the coastline, I guess. We didn't know where the heck we were. We didn't know anything about England.
Hmm.
But that's where we were. It was in Dorchester.
How did they divide you up and load you on the boats, or was
I
it
have
just
no idea. Just by company.
by company?
By companies, yeah.
Then where did you go?
Well, we were there until Christmas Eve, and then they shipped us out because of the Battle of the Bulge. And
Okay.
they put us on the Leopoldville.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tell me
we
about that.
got on that thing at night, and we left, I don't know what time. All I can remember about that was that it was Christmas Eve, and we were supposed to begin going to the mess hall. They had all the turkeys and everything else prepared for a Christmas Eve dinner. And then we got called to take all our equipment and get on a boat. And we were going over. And we got in the Leopoldville, down at, I guess, Southampton. I don't know where the heck we were really. And we went supposedly to France. But then we were torpedoed.
Okay.
And lost a lot of people on that thing. A lot.
Do you remember being on the Leopoldville when it was hit? What was
Yeah,
your
I was
reaction?
we were down in the cab, downstairs. I think our section was 4M, 4F or something like that. And when we got hit, we had to go back. They told us to get back up on deck. Boats were coming out to get us, and that we would be all right. Just get up on deck and stay on deck and wait for any particular orders that they were going to give.
Hmm.
And of course, when we were on deck, there were boats that were coming out. There was a British boat that was alongside. Guys were jumping on it, trying to jump on it. Some made it, some didn't. Some went right between the two, and they never came back up. I eventually just walked down the side of the boat into the water because it was going under. Figured it was time we should get off.
Did you have all your gear and equipment with you at that point?
We were all dressed in our overcoats and everything else, and a life jacket on. They did give us life jackets. The crew of the Leopold took off early. They left.
Hmm.
But then when I got in the water, I remember being pulled down, I guess in the suction of the boat going down. But then when I came back up, there was nobody around me. I was in an area I thought I was all alone in. But then a tugboat came out, and the people on the tugboat pulled me on board. And I have no idea how long I was in the water.
Hmm.
And I have no idea when I went into shore and when I went to the hospital, because the next thing I remembered, I woke up in the hospital. And I didn't know whether it was the next day or 2 or 3 days after.
Where were you, in France then? at that
Yeah,
time?
I was in
Okay.
France. In fact, when they came in and told me that I was leaving, they wanted to know if I wanted to go to the UK. I didn't even know what the UK was. I should have gone.
What, did they give you any instructions on the Leopoldville about what to do if you were torpedoed?
No, not when we went on board. No, we just boarded the thing, and they just put us in sections and compartments where we were supposed to be. And when we got to France, we'd unload the same way. But as far as instructions, if we got torpedoed, nobody said a word about it.
Okay.
I don't think they want to even think about that.
Hmm.
But we did get torpedoed.
Do you remember the boat zig and zagging going over, or?
No,
No?
no, there was none, not to my knowledge. It may have been on the surface, but we were down in the ship, inside the hold, that we didn't know what was going on up top.
Hmm. How did you find out that the crew had left?
When we got on deck, they were looking for lifeboats and everything else, and nobody knew how to take the lifeboats. The crew had gone.
And the crew took the lifeboats?
Well, somebody took them. What there were, and there weren't that many lifeboats, to be honest with you.
Was there a lot of debris in the water at that point that people could grab hold of?
Not really, no, because the boat was still on the surface, and I guess it had a hole in the side, wherever the damn torpedo hit. But it wasn't a lot of debris out there that you could figure, if you got in the water, you could hang onto it, because I'm sure that eventually some of the rafts on board, or whatever it may have been, may have broken loose and were let go and came up on the water. But no, I didn't see anything. The only thing I saw was that big boat in between, and after I saw a few fellas jump and miss, I wasn't going that route. I'd wait. They told us basically to wait.
Okay.
That ships were coming out and that we would be taken care of. They never indicated that the boat was going to sink.
When did you all figure that out?
Actually, when it was kind of tipping over on its side. We figured that this thing is not going to stay on top of the water.
Did it occur to any of the men to get rid of the heavy coats or gear?
No, because actually, I mean, we saw boats. There weren't many boats coming out in the very beginning, but then eventually we could see the lights of Cherbourg. And we figured, God, we're not that far off the coast, we'll wait. But then they were late getting out. And we were all, as I say, we all had our overcoats on and everything else. I imagine when they pulled me out of water, I must have weighed a ton. Because I was water soaked and I had everything on.
You still had your life vest on?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good thing I did, otherwise I wouldn't have floated.
Did you get instructions on how to put those on?
No, not to I don't think so. They just said put the jackets on, tie them.
Okay.
And that's all they were. I remember it was a yellow jacket.
Do you remember any of the men that were with you at the time that made it through? Or that you lost?
There were some of the people that were there made it through. Some of the people that I knew didn't make it. We lost a lot of people in that. We lost 765 people in that thing. And nobody knew about it.
Were you told not to talk about it?
No, we were never told that. In fact, we didn't know whether or not it was even reported. At the time, we figured somebody must have known, but no, we didn't say anything about it.
What made you think that? Do you remember?
Only the fact that somebody must have known that they lost the ship and that it was loaded with troops. But they didn't want to say anything about it at the time, I guess.
Once you got to once you got to France, you were in the hospital.
Right.
Then what happened?
Well, when they got me out of the hospital, and they sent me back to my unit.
And your unit was where then?
Well, it must have been close by because we didn't go very far, but then because we were kind of decimated by that, they took I think it was the 106th, which was along the coast of Saint Nazaire and Lorient, where the German subtons were. They pulled them out and put us in.
Okay.
So I spent the next, 6 months until the war's end in that area, supposedly keeping the Germans caught in there. We were happy we never saw any.
That's probably very true. Can you describe a typical day? How you started the day, what you did?
Well, we were in a bunker of sorts, and there were 6 of us in the bunker. There was a sergeant, 3 of us, and we were just in the bunker. We got food brought up to us, and we were here and they were there, and all we were doing was making sure they didn't come here or we didn't go there. In fact, when we got orders in June sometime, I think it was June or whenever the war ended, before the war ended, we got orders that we were going to go in there and we were going to push them out. And then the war ended. Then they told us to hold. The Germans were told to blow up any minefields or anything, and the field in front of us disappeared. So that then we marched in. We didn't look like conquerors when we marched in.
Why do you say that?
Well, we were on that line so damn long. We looked shabby and dirty. I mean, I don't think we had a shower up there.
You mentioned you were with 6 people in your unit. Do you remember who they were?
No, I don't remember who they were, actually. I remember I think Sergeant was Heckel. And I don't really know who the others, forgot who they were. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, since we went through that.
They were in the Black Panther unit?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were still the 66th
66th.
at that time. But then after the war, they broke the 66th up and put us in with the 42nd.
When you were in France, Austria, did you see combat?
Not really.
All right. You say not really. Why do you say that?
Because I didn't see any.
Okay. What was your job then?
Just to guard, keep the Germans trapped in there, that's all.
Okay.
And then when the war ended, we went into occupation.
When you say there, specifically, where was it?
Saint Nazaire and Lorient, along the coast.
Okay. Just double checking.
Yeah.
Were there casualties in your unit?
From what?
Well, obviously from the torpedo boat there were.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember how many you lost from that crew?
No. Don't forget, I Company had 3 battalions in it, and the people I can remember some of the people that I knew that were no longer there, that were not in the company anymore because they had been drowned or lost at sea. But then I know that there were others that were survived like me and had similar tales to tell,
Other units that you had casualties in?
Well, most of that division and 264th was on that ship, so that their other companies had to be affected the same way. Don't forget there were over 1,000 guys on that boat when we were going over. I never did get the actual figure, but maybe 1,000, 2,000, I don't know.
Okay. So there were quite a few. How about when you were in France? Did you have any casualties or lose any people?
No, not from enemy activity. No.
Okay.
No, we just, as I say, we were just there to keep the Germans in Saint Nazaire and Lorient, keep them in there. That supposedly was our task. They probably were quite happy that we weren't going in there after them.
When you think of all the experiences that you had, is there a memorable experience that stands out in your mind? Something that's more memorable than others?
No, just the torpedoing.
Explain.
Well, it was quite a shock, to know that... in fact, the thing that was ironic about it was the fact that when they drafted me, gave me my physical, they put me in the Navy. And I didn't want to go in the Navy because I didn't want to be at sea. And then I said, here I am in the middle of the English Channel. I got torpedoed, and I didn't want to be in the Navy.
Well, you weren't. You were
No,
in the Army.
that's right.
What stands out most in your mind about that experience, if you think of it? Obviously.
Well, I think just the idea that when you realized how many people were lost, that you were basically very lucky to have come out of it alive. Because when you consider that now I've had 65 years where I've been able to raise a family and everything else, which people who were lost didn't have that opportunity. And there were a lot of them that were lost.
Do you remember anything about the tugboat that you said you came out of the water? Don't remember anything, but...
No, I remember the boat that I was on when they pulled me out. I was sitting in their kitchen or whatever the heck they call it on that boat, drinking coffee. I was sitting on the stove, and on the floor was somebody else they pulled up who was dead. And they just had the body there. I don't even remember how many people were on the tugboat.
Was it a French tugboat or English?
Had to be French because we were on the French coast.
Do you remember them speaking English or French or?
I don't remember anything really in that thing except sitting on the stove drinking coffee.
Okay.
Trying to get warm. And then, as I say, when I woke up, I was in the hospital. I don't even know how I got off the boat. Where they took me in. They just took me in, put me in the hospital, and I woke up in the hospital with other guys. And I didn't know anybody in the hospital.
How long did you stay in the hospital?
I don't even remember that.
Okay.
How long I was in there. Because when they released me, they told me I was going back to my outfit. And there was somebody there to pick me up.
Okay. Did they give you, obviously, issued you new clothes and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They gave us new clothes. I don't think they dried the other ones out.
Did they give you a new gun?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Why do you say eventually?
I didn't have the one with me.
Did you let it go into the ocean? Or,
I must have, maybe we didn't even come up from below decks with them. I don't know. I don't remember. I was thinking of that the other night. Did I come up with the gun or not? I don't really remember.
what type of...
If so, I got rid of it.
Okay. What other type of gear would you have been carrying at that point?
Oh, just the clothing. Helmet, maybe. But then, of course, we got rid of those, too.
You just threw them overboard or lost them?
I don't know whether I threw it overboard or whether I came up with it or not. I know when we went on deck, they told us to go on deck dressed. In fact, we were down in the hold, laying in hammocks, you know. So then when we got on deck, we were fully dressed and we had life. They told us to put life jackets on. And that was it.
How many bunks did you have when you were below?
I'm going to say 3 or 4 that were there. We just started right on the floor. And I don't even know how high the compartment was, but 3 or 4.
Who gave the orders? Do you remember?
Well, the officers must have given the orders to get up on deck. Because they had an intercom system that announced everybody up on deck was being picked up.
Okay.
But we weren't picked up.
Do you remember seeing the officers once you got up on deck?
I must have seen some of them, yeah. There were some that may or may not have been in our company. I don't know.
Because you mentioned that the crew left.
Oh, they were Belgian. It was a Belgian ship, the Leopoldville. And actually, I never saw any of them to speak of anyhow.
What did you do when you were crossing over? What would your day have been like? Christmas Eve,
Well, we
got
were only on the boat, from the time we loaded in where Southampton or Dorchester or whatever. It had to be after 10 o'clock at night. We were torpedoed at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So that we were still in the water, going across.
Did they expect to be a day-long journey or?
Never told us.
Never told you?
No.
Okay.
Just told us we were going to France. Told us that we were going to the Bulge. But they needed new troops up there. But we never got there.
Okay. Missed some good times, huh?
Well,
What type of medals and citations did you get while you were in the war?
oh, just the ribbons for ETO and marksmanship, all that stuff,
And Purple Heart?
Yeah,
Tell me about what did you get the Purple Heart for?
I guess for being torpedoed.
Okay.
Because that's where I got it, in the hospital.
Who gave it to you?
I don't even remember that. Somebody came through and had the Purple Heart thing and gave them to you.
Did you have
I
to
think
carry
I got it. I think I got it in the hospital. Or maybe they came around to the company afterwards. I don't know.
Then you had to carry it with you the whole time? Or could you send it home?
No, I sent it home.
Okay. To your parents?
Mm-hmm.
Were they told anything about
No.
the torpedoing?
No. No, they were not.
How did they find out?
When I came home.
Could be a surprise to get that in the mail.
I'm not sure that they mailed that to them. I think they may have kept it in the company or something. I brought it home. I'm pretty sure I brought it home.
Okay. When you were on the line afterwards, keeping the Germans at bay, anything happened there that stands out in your mind?
Nope. Nothing. It was very quiet.
Very quiet?
Very quiet, yeah.
What would your normal day have been like there?
Normal day would be that we were on guard duty all night, somebody, and then in the morning you got up, they brought chow up to you, and then you simply watched out there and make sure that nobody was wandering around out in front of you, that's all.
Were you told you could shoot somebody if you saw them, or?
They said you better shoot if you see them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you?
because they're going to shoot at you.
I was going to say, did anybody ever take shots at
No. No. We were very fortunate in that respect that they didn't bother us and we didn't bother them.
you? Okay.
And I don't even know how far away they were. Because the pens were down on the coast. We were back inland.
Did you have binoculars that you could watch them with?
Yeah, you could see them walking around sometimes down in the village, but they probably were watching us walk around too.
When you think about staying in touch with family and members, and obviously your parents and family didn't know about the Leopoldville, how did you stay in touch with your family while you were in the war?
Letters wrote home,
Okay.
but you never know how much they cut out of your letters. You know, if you said anything about the being torpedoed, I'm sure they cut it right out, blacked it out. So you were limited on what you could say, even to the effect of where you were.
Okay. Your parents asked questions?
Not really, no. They just were happy to get letters, I guess.
Do you have brothers and sisters that were also corresponding?
My brother George was in England at the time. After the war was over, I went to England and I saw him. And he had been there for three years, I guess. And he was getting ready to go home. But then, no, that was it.
Did he know about the Leopoldville?
Nope.
So you were a big surprise to them all.
Well, the fact that we were torpedoed was a big surprise, yeah.
Now, this paper, the article that you have, that's something that came out afterwards?
That came from Indianapolis, and my nephew saw it out there and sent me a copy. Then that Alan, what's his name, there that wrote the book on the Leopold, he contacted me and wanted information from me on it, and it's in the book there a little bit.
Are you cited?
A blurb. Pardon?
Are you cited?
No.
Did he cite you? No?
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Good. You're famous.
Yeah, right. If everybody reads that book.
Tell me about what the food was like when you were in service.
Good and bad.
Examples of each?
Well, when you were in the
What was
States, you could go to the service club, which was a heck of a lot better than the mess hall sometimes. And then when overseas, well, you were just, when we were in England, it wasn't bad. And when we got into France, because we were on the line and everything, you got C rations, the D rations, you know, that could be prepared and nothing flat. And then during the occupation, things changed. The food got better because you were stationed where you could get fresh food and what have you.
What might you eat then?
When?
After?
Well, you might have, you know, more meat than you had before. And you still had K rations and C rations. You didn't get away from them. And then, of course, because you were in a town or village, you were also able to go out to the local restaurants and get something. I mean, it wasn't the case you had to go to the mess hall every night.
Anything that was your favorite food?
Not really.
No?
No. There are some things I liked and some things I didn't like.
What did you like?
It's very hard to remember what I liked in the Army. I didn't mind SOS that much.
Okay.
People didn't like it at all, but I didn't mind that at all. I thought their pancakes were like used tires. They were tough. But other than that, they weren't bad.
Okay. When you talk about being in going over, you had supplies that you were taking with you. How about, and you lost all those, but they were reissued.
Yeah.
How about when you were on duty afterwards on the line? Did you have a lot of supplies? Did you ever run low on supplies?
No, I don't think we were ever low. We had enough food. We didn't have variety of food, but we had enough. And you had all the equipment you needed. You had clothing. The only thing that you didn't get a chance to get a shower very often. You know, you had to bathe in what you had. And sometimes you'd go for 2 or 3 weeks without it. And you had to do your own washing on the line too.
Did you mind doing that?
Well, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but none of you had to do it if you wanted any clean clothes. Yeah.
Did you have a good luck charm?
No, none that I can
Something
recall.
that you carried as a good luck symbol.
No, I had a prayer book, and that's all.
You still have your prayer book?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
special to you?
Still, I don't know, it's still in use.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Entertainment. Was there ever any entertainers, or what did
After
you do
the
for-
war, yeah.
After the war.
After the war, when we were in Marseille, we saw Hope,
Okay.
and we had a few other shows down there.
Do you remember, other than Bob Hope, who might have been part of the show?
I think Francis Langford was with him. Jerry Clona,
Okay.
Les Brown's orchestra. We had the whole crew. When, after the war was over and we were able to go on pass, we were in Paris and we went to the Follies one night, and we got into about the 5th or 6th row, somewhere around there, because we paid one of the ushers to let us in, and there were 4 or 5 seats up empty next to us. And after the show started, Jack Benny and Ingrid Bergman and somebody else came in and sat. We didn't get to talk to them though. No, but they were there. And other than that, when we were in Germany, in Austria, no, we didn't have any USO shows. We just had the USO buildings, you know, that you could go to.
Did you ever go on leave?
Yeah, when I went to England,
All right. And
Yeah.
where did you go when you were on leave?
I went to see my brother in England.
Okay.
In,
So after the war.
oh, after the war? Yeah, after the
That
war.
would have
Yeah.
been after. Okay.
Yeah, that was after the war was over. Yeah. Then when he went home, then of course there was. I went to Italy. Had to pass to Italy, and these weren't. You know, these were passes. These weren't leaves. You know, you got maybe 5 days or 7 days.
Where in Italy did you go?
I went to Rome, and then came back up. We had to get back up into France, and you hit the towns along the way in the train, you know. But that was it.
When people are bored or stressed, a lot of times they pull pranks. Do you remember any pranks that either you were in on or somebody else perpetrated on another person?
No. I'm sure we did, but I don't recall any. I'm sure we did. We had enough people that would we would like to pull a prank on, let's say, and they in turn would try to pull them on us. But I don't recall anything in particular. I remember one, I think it was Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving, that we were on guard duty and then went to the mess hall to get to eat when we came off. That they went through the whole menu before we got back on duty again, and they gave us everything, you know. But they tried to do the holidays up
Okay.
if they could.
What would they have given you for Thanksgiving?
Well, they gave us turkey and everything. When the war was over,
Turkey meaning gravy and
turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes, dressing, vegetables, everything. Yeah, they didn't skimp. They got it. In fact, that's when we left England. That was all in the mess hall. All cooked, waiting for us. And we left it there. So we always hoped that the British people got it. And they just didn't throw it away.
hopefully it was new though when you got it back.
Right.
You mentioned you don't have any photos per se.
Oh, I had some around here somewhere. I have no idea where they are now, but showed, we're in different places. I don't know where they are. Cindy can look for them.
Okay, we'll put her to work on that.
Cindy can look for them.
And did you keep a diary by any chance?
No. No.
And what did you think of the difference between officers and the enlisted men? Anything? Any
Well, they were
feelings
good
on
and
that?
bad. We had a captain in our company who was from Waterbury. He was probably somebody you wouldn't want to be a friend with,
Okay.
but he probably was a nice enough guy.
Any others that stand out in your mind that were good or bad?
No, our sergeants were all right. Most of them were from the South. Most were from the South. We had Sergeant Long in Allagood. Heckle was from Jersey. But they weren't bad.
Now, Sergeant Allagood,
Yeah.
how would you spell his name?
Allgod.
Okay, just like it sounds.
Yep. Miller was from Pennsylvania. We lost him on that torpedo. I don't know what, he was second or third company, I guess.
After your service, do you recall when the war ended, the day the war ended that you heard about?
Yeah, we were in France. We were in France at the time, I think, and they set up a village outside, tent village, and they celebrated. They brought in all of the liquor you could have.
The military brought the...
Yep.
Okay. And how did you celebrate? Do you remember?
Yeah, everybody got a little loaded. Everybody. It was a one-day deal.
And who was with you? Do you remember at that point?
Well, it could have been everybody in the company.
Okay. What did you do in the days or weeks after? Obviously.
After the war,
You came to England.
we were in occupation. We were in Vienna, for instance, and we were guarding all of the officers' hotels and what have you, the Air Force. And we just pulled guard duty.
For how long?
Well, the war ended. I was over there a year after the war ended.
Okay.
So that in the occupation, when we were in Marseille, we were doing nothing more than servicing troops who were going home. So we ran the camp.
Mm.
But I don't even remember how long we were there.
Now, these were men coming from, like, Camp Lucky Strike, or?
Well, they were coming from all over Europe.
Okay.
They were going home and going through Marseille rather than going through England.
Mm. Do you remember any of the camps that were coming in? Where they were coming from?
No, they were just different outfits.
Okay. What did you do when you came home?
Probably I was very glad I was home. That's it. And then, what do? You just go try to get back into a normal life and get a job or do something.
Did you go to work, or did you go back to school, or?
No, I went to work for a while and then I decided to go back to school.
What did you work at?
Anything that was available at the time.
Okay. Do you remember what you did first?
Well, I was in sales in a store or something, I forget. And you just did that for a while until you saw then I was with National Biscuit for a year or so. And then I went back to school.
Okay. Where did you use a GI Bill?
Yeah. I went to Southern.
And how long did you stay there? What did you major in?
Education. And I was there for 3 years. They gave me credit for schooling beforehand, so that I was there for 3 years, and then when I graduated, I went into teaching.
Where did you teach?
I taught in Hamden.
What grade?
Started out in the 7th grade. And then I moved into junior high where I did 7th and 8th and 9th grade. And then I went back to the elementary. And I became a principal.
At which school?
Well, in Hamden they had a philosophy of changing principals every so often. So I went through 5 different schools before I retired.
Okay. Do you have any close friendships that you still maintain or that you had while you were in service?
Not really, because most of the guys that I knew around here are gone. This Jim Meade, who I correspond with, is in Tennessee. And he called me up one night around Christmas a few years ago and wanted to know if I was the Ray Avery that was in his company. And I said yes. And then we started exchanging cards, pictures, what have you. But no, I called. A couple of guys called years ago, but I haven't heard from them since. So that I'm assuming that they did just what I did, didn't correspond anymore, or they died, you know.
Do you belong to any veterans organizations?
I belong to the American Legion. I'm a member of that Panther organization out of New Jersey. They send me their bulletin every couple of months as to what's going on.
Do you have any officer positions that you fulfilled there, or just
No.
No, just member at large.
Right.
You mentioned that you were principal after the war.
Right.
How long did you stay in education? When did you retire?
34 years.
34 years.
Yeah. 20 years of principal. I've been retired now, 22 years. And I'm only 50.
I'm only 49, so we're the same age. Did your military experience, when you think about the war and about the military, influence your thinking? And if so, how?
Well, let's say I was proud to be part of it. I think it's influenced my thinking, the fact that I get very annoyed with people today who downgrade the military and who continually harp about the fact that we should not be doing this. People want to get rid of us, you know. And these do-gooders that feel that we should be less ready to take care of them, I don't agree with. I guess you'd have to say I'm a firm believer in a strong Army, Navy, to defend this country. There's too many people want to take us down. And there's too many people in key positions who are part of that. So I think it influenced me, yeah. I think that the fact that I had the opportunity to serve gave me a feeling of patriotism. And the fact that I'm very proud to be an American and what we stand for.
All right. Do you think that experience affected your life,
Sure,
your personal life?
sure.
And if so, how?
Made me a better person. Knew what it was to go through hardship. Knew what it was to sleep in a field at night with very little covering. And knew the hardships of being in the Army, being in a situation where you could lose your life the next minute. Yeah, sure it affected me.
Has it affected the way you run your daily life, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think that I'm fortunate to have a good woman who straightens me out when I try to get too tough. And then my kids too, you know, continually tell me how to dress and everything else. Yeah.
That's good. Do you have anything that you would like to add that we haven't covered that you would like to
No,
touch on?
that's about it. I can't tell you any more, unless I start lying.
Tell me about the gentleman that contacted you about the book.
Well, he called. He must have gotten the name from the company roster or something, knowing the research he did on the book. And then he called to find out if I had anything to contribute to it. And just told him what I knew at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, it'll be in the book. And he just mentions me in the book, that's all. And the fact that he contacted me. There's a film out that he made. I never got it. But he did a lot of research on it.
Mm.
Particularly because it was the fact that it was never even publicized.
When did you find out it wasn't publicized, that nobody knew about it? Do you remember?
Oh, after the war.
Okay, so during the war you didn't think about that?
No, we weren't. If I put it in a letter home, I'm sure that it was blocked out.
Okay.
No, I don't think that.
Did your parents ever mention anything about letters being blocked out?
No. In fact, they probably told us don't say anything about it.
Mm. You mean the Army?
Yeah. They probably said don't say a word about it. Which, of course, I'm sure we didn't. Being good followers of orders.
You say that with a twinkle in your eye.
Well,
Were there times that you didn't follow orders?
definitely.
Can you share an example?
Well, when you were on guard duty, that you were on guard duty alone sometimes in these posts, you'd fall asleep. I mean, there was nobody around, and there was nothing going on, so, and if it were cold, you fell asleep and waited for the next guard to come out and relieve you. That's it. But, no. Usually we're on two. I remember once, though, one incident that was, we were marching, after we had been torpedoed, and we were in France somewhere, and they put us on guard duty at night, and we were supposed to guard a road, and I was on duty with Popovich, and he was from Illinois, Chicago, just outside of Chicago, and we had a bazooka, and we were marching down the road, to covering certain things. I said to him, Pop, do you know how to fire this thing? He said, no, I thought you did. Neither one of us knew how to fire the damn thing. If a tank came down the road, we were in real trouble. We didn't know how to fire it because we had never been shown. And that was it. And there were other instances, that you had some things take place. Or, you go back, you think about things. We were standing outside of Lorient one day in one of the shacks we had there. And they must have fired an 88 or some damn thing, because shrapnel landed all around us. Fortunately, none of it hit us, But it was a big piece of steel. Other than that, no. I never fired at anybody.
Okay.
No, not that I'm aware of anyhow.
Did you figure out who was sending the shrapnel your direction?
Oh yeah, they were over there. They every so often would shoot to let us know that they were there. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we in turn did the same thing to them. But that was it.
Did you pick up the shrapnel?
Yeah, I did. I picked up a piece of it. I think
How big was it?
About like that.
Okay.
A piece like that. But we learned to stay inside after that. Don't get outside and let them have a shot at you. No. That was it.
All right. Anything else you would like to add?
Nope. That's about it. It's more talking I've done on this instance in a long time.
Good. Well, we'll turn you off then.